Sorry about that, folks. I was a little bit too quiet all of a sudden. So either way, hey, what is up, ladies and gentlemen? I am Piglet here once again, and ladies and gentlemen, my voice has been completely restored at this point right about now. So no need to worry about the forms of constant, you know, cutting out some of the commentary lines and stuff like that. So even then, though, I'm fully restored and I'm feeling much more better than the likes of how it does it from the previous videos ago. So either way, yeah, that's just how it goes basically. So yeah, I'm from the likes of the Muxy Toys videos. And ladies and gentlemen, welcome back for some more of Let's Play of Yoshi's Crafted World for the Nintendo Switch. So last time we have managed to explore the final level in Paste Your Pathway, which is of course Yoshi pulls some strings. In addition with those kinds of stuff, we also did manage to actually just finishing off some of the Poochie Pups finding during the forms of, well, let's just say on Poochie's sweet run. And also, just like the usual, we did manage to mainly focusing on some souvenir huntings once in a while. So today, for this particular point, is the fact that we might actually wrap things up with this particular world before we move on to the next world. So either way, let's head into the forms of back onto Yoshi Pulls Some Strings level to go through, not only for the sake of the forms of the flip side to able to find the rest of the 3 Poochie Pups, but also trying to find the actual next souvenir hunting, which this time around though is actually the red squirrel herself. Well, I usually say that because even then that, well, I like to point that out for the sake of time. So even then though, it looks like right off the bat, I can definitely see the Poochie Pup somewhere in the actual background for that specific matter. So either way though, yeah, if you couldn't tell for this point already, it's the fact that the actual Nintendo Switch itself, specifically across the world, where it already does that in Japan since yesterday, that recently that Nintendo Switch has been turned 3 years old at this point today. So even then, I would like to say for this point, Nintendo fans out there, happy 3-year anniversary of the Nintendo Switch's release. So even then though, it's gone pretty well for the most part though. Sure, it might be a little bit more quiet for this point today, because even then that we are still far lacking when it comes to likely with the first party titles has been launching or something like that. Well, aside from we still got, you know, Animal Crossing New Horizons and stuff like that, which should be releasing until 17 days left or less. But then again, I'm not going to pick it up on day 1 because I'm not really into the series, unfortunately. Well, at least the only good thing about that game for me though is of course the visuals do look absolutely gorgeous, but that's about it basically for my liking, so... But I digress. So, yeah, I suppose that's another thing I should probably mention is the fact that, well, generally speaking, we did get ourselves the actual Impact Direct that's been happening today. But I will talk more about it whenever we're able to get back into this at some point. Because recently, yesterday, also, that Sonic, he's managed to get things started for his entire Let's Play of Super Mario Sunshine recently. So either way, that I'm probably not going to let Sonic mention about that specific stuff too much, because even then though, he only discussed upon mission-based kind of objectives, if you can clearly tell from the start. So, yeah, as a result of that kinds of stuff, though, we are mainly focusing on, well, most notably Nintendo stuff, because as you guys are probably thinking that, what about the Sonic stuff? Well, I will promise you guys right off the bat though, is the fact that it will make it happen until after when the SXSW panel, Sonic the Hedgehog panel, will be happening, and then as a result, whenever something else has been happening and stuff like that, then we would be able to actually discuss upon that specific stuff until whenever we start to be doing the next Sonic Let's Play or something. So either way, let's get over to, there's nothing here, so let's just go ahead and deal with this already. And right off the bat though, not only do we able to actually just to rescue all of these Poochie Pups, but also, as you probably already know, we got ourselves the 4th Smiley Flower for the actual time length. So yeah, it's not too bad though, unless if you really want to look up on guides and stuff like that for that nature. So even then there's not much else to able to talk about this, so either way. And I guess there's not much else I can say, unfortunately, guys. It's just the fact of the matter is, though, that I'm very glad that the actual Nintendo Switch has been out for about 3 years now. So even then, though, time itself has managed to go and fly by since back in 2017 when the actual thing itself was first launched on. Okay, quick error right there if you couldn't tell on the screen, just because, well, again, sometimes I feel like the souvenir huntings can get pretty tedious at times because, well, in addition to able to replaying the same levels over and over and over again, but trying to figure out where in the world are they, which even then, that'll be the hardest part about the actual thing sometimes, I feel like, so... But that's how it goes basically when it comes to certain challenge or what have you though, but either way though, let's just go ahead and eat up some more Shy Guys so that we can able to create some of the eggs and stuff. So hopefully we would be able to actually just well, find ourselves the actual souvenir hunting that we're most likely gonna aim for, so... Yeah, I digress. So, yeah, so far for the sake of this point, for the actual progression for our channel so far recently, speaking of which, that our subscribers count has been up to about 270 of them so far for those as subscribers, and then I think we've got about 30 left until whenever we reach up to 300, which I'm really hoping that we can make it during that specific timeline in 2020, but then again, we'll see what happens there until whenever the time itself we're able to actually just to go. So even then, because in the beginning portion, since back in the day in 2011, 2012, 2013, and, well, let's just say both 2011, 2012, and 2013 respectively back in the day, that we haven't exactly gotten that much subscribers back in the day, probably because most people seem to don't really care about the forms of the camera quality these days, and then as a result, that the reason why I think our subscribers count is going to get a little bit more grown out of me, or grown out of us I should say, is most notably because we actually use the CapCut device, so even then that makes it a little bit common sense for that knowledge, because that way you can able to see on screen, and, you know, you can clearly see what's going on in the actual gameplay itself. But yeah, that's how it goes basically. So anyways, now we've actually finally managed to able to find one of the souvenirs, as you can see, which is of course the actual squirrel, which I don't know what that usually represents for, but anyway, okay, so we got a next request, which this time we need to find 5 of those apple trees, and simply put, it's just on stitched together levels. So either way, we'll hopefully try to find these. Hopefully we're able to actually find these apple trees in the quickest amount of time before, you know, God knows if I was going to be able to actually missing one. But either way though, we'll find things out at some form or another whenever we dive right in, so... But yeah, that I digress. So yeah, as you can see on screen right from the start actually, it's the fact that, as you can see, we are now selecting the different colored Yoshi once again, except this time, we're now in orange colored, which either way, I think this is actually the 6th Yoshi that we actually got ourselves the different colored with, because compared to the forms of, well, we've already managed to able to select 6 of those different colored Yoshis so far, so naturally we've only got about 2 more different colored Yoshis left, which there are light blue and finally purple. I would say I will show off the purple color until for later, because even then, that's after we're done with those 2 videos with Orange Yoshi, at least for now on. And speaking of now on actually, it's the fact that as far as uploading schedules for this particular game so far, these will have to be uploaded directly to the forms of Tuesdays and Thursdays for now on, because as you guys already know, that Sonic has recently got started with his redo Let's Play of Super Mario Sunshine, and everything else goes all pretty nicely actually, despite with you know, with the shortest amount of views that we've got, specifically because it's on Nintendo's part, whereas even then though, unlike in certain other Let's Plays, most notably with recently Rayman Raving Rabbids, that we actually got a quite good amount of views as far as I'm aware. Probably because of how the fact that, well, we actually got ourselves, well, a different set of Let's Plays to tackle through. So even then, though, that makes it a little bit obvious. Can you get out of my way, you stupid cardboard? Oh, thank you. Thankfully, the actual cardboard itself will start to disappear this often, so that way you could able to potentially try to go ahead and just make it vanish completely. So anyways, let's go ahead and get ourselves the final apple tree. And there we go, we pretty much sort things out. Now of course this won't be the final time we're going to be able to take on the forms of Stitch Together level, because, we need to deal with the flip side by simply finding those Poochie pups, basically. So either way though, but before we handle all that stuff, we'll go ahead and finish up on, you know, we will just try to finishing up with those souvenir hunts from now on. So next up is the mushroom stump, and that appears to be on Yoshi Pull Some Strings in the front side, basically. So either way, we're able to actually just to deal with all that. But then again though, folks, it's not much else I can really talk about this, sadly, despite the fact that we are still pretty much bare bones as it is when it comes to likely with news, updates, or anything like that. Hopefully that Sonic were able to actually just try to keep things up with all these little energized and everything like that, because he's obviously the fastest thing alive, of course, which can be also said applies to the DC hero, the Flash, and all that stuff, which I'm sure most people already know about that already. And either way though, that's how it goes basically. So let's just go ahead and, you know, once again keep on jumping onto these little guys' heads, so that way you could able to actually just to generally trying to able to do a nice little skip over sequences, or if in this case take quite a few shortcuts. Well, not necessarily all of the shortcuts per se, but either way though. Oh, how the heck? How the heck is they able to actually just to drop it right above of my head? Oh jeez, I have no idea why that's been turned out. Then again though, I'm just a little bit too hasty, that's all. So just in case, I just want to able to speed things up a notch, just for the sake of likely just trying to able to get this Let's Play. I don't know if we're still in the halfway point of this so far, but then again though, we are slowly getting there, because this is probably due to the fact that, well, we still need to deal with a whole tons of souvenir huntings every once in a while, and especially noticeable with all these collectibles that we have to still hunt for. Thankfully though, especially noticeable whenever we get to the latest souvenir huntings that we have to deal with. I don't think those blue birds won't count, because I'm pretty sure they're just there for the sake of the forms of likely like no animal harms or something. But then again, I haven't really got further into more details about this just yet though, but I digress. So, but you know, you get the idea for that little solution right here. So either way though, let's just go ahead and keep on moving forward for a little bit. Hopefully whenever we move on to the next new world, I should be able to discuss something new about it until whenever we dive right in onto that specific part. So anyways, let's get onto here and just jump off immediately, because that way this thing will start to fall. And approach all the way up to the right, and this is where you find the mushroom on the stump. So even then, that's pretty simple, self-explanatory if you manage to spot that. So either way though, I don't think you can able to actually find that. I'm pretty sure it's possible that you can able to find that in the flip side, but either way though, I just usually just try to guess. So there we go, there's the next smiley flower. So we got ourselves 185 of these right now. And now we're going to be finding the forms of the King of Donuts, and that appears to be on Poochie's Sweet Run. But of course I'll save that up for later, because for now, we're about to be taking on the forms of the flip side stitched together level, but I'll go and find the rest of the Poochie pups basically. Although relatively speaking of something like this, you know, I said this before, that this will be the last time we're going to be exploring this level. Well, turns out it might be, but at the same time, not just yet, until whenever we get towards the end of the game, because then again, we'll talk more about it whenever we're able to come across into that. So either way, let us go ahead and keep things moving for the sake of this particular level on the flip side. So even then, we can able to expect to dodge a lot of enemies like Shy Guys, and as well as these little swooping looking enemies, as you can see. But either way though, that might be some consumption. So the only thing you need to keep that in mind though is the fact that sometimes that you have to be really accurate on likely just utilize with the balancing kind of platforms, as you can see. So that way if you stand onto the right, then obviously the actual weighing kind of balance gram, or I don't know, it's hard to explain about that sometimes, I have to admit, I have to be honest guys, but either way, I think that's how I can usually just try to offer for that point. So anyways, let's go ahead and trying to go for the other side for the sake of time. And still, I really love the actual background on this level though, because it always feels like some sort of like a sunset vibe. Because back in the forms of the front side of this level, that sometimes we have to deal with the forms of ourselves within the daylight and stuff like that. Whilst new forms on the flip side, basically it just gets all likely due to, well, almost like a sunset vibe, which I have no idea why I'd truly explore on that particular area right there. But of course there's another Poochie Pup just underneath for the sake of this section here. And of course, if you really want to go out, then luckily for you, there's an alcove right there, so that way you can able to open up the door, so that way you can able to actually escape for that sequence right here. So, and I suppose another thing I wanted to discuss upon something to you guys is the fact that I will have to admit though, I do apologize with the actual lack of uploading schedules by this time, because I was expecting to make this uploaded during today, during at 5 o'clock or something like that in UK time. But unfortunately though, because due to my editing software, sometimes it will take a while, or it took forever to able to actually just loading something. Specifically when I was trying to improve the quality and everything. There's the final Poochie Pup right here on this for the sake of this level right here. But anyway, and I think we are basically done with all these Poochie Pup hide and seek kind of scenario in this for the sake of this world. And now we need one thing we need to deal with right now, or one more thing I should say, to deal with this for the sake of the forms of the final part for this world. And that is of course the final souvenir item that we need to find, which is of course King of Donuts, which even then I think that was on the flip side, if I recalled, in Poochie's Sweet Run. So now after we're done with that particular segment, then we can finally move on to the forms of the next new world. So even then though, because of that though, yeah, that's how it goes basically. So either way though, let's get into here, and we'll find the King of Donuts. So even then though, we could able to expect that. But then again, for this point, guys, I must admit, though, I do apologize for the actual lack of news, discussions, or anything like that, because there's not much else you can say about this. But apart from the fact that, well, yeah, there's not much else you can say about it, so... Alright, so let's go ahead and continue to go to the right here, so hopefully we would go for these little bungee stuff. Although, apart from the fact that, well, I'm pretty sure that, speaking of Rayman Raving Rabbit, Let's Play, that, usually Silver the Hedgehog is currently doing right about now, that he pretty much almost nearly towards the end of the actual game so far. So relatively speaking, that he's now on to, I would say, day 12, all the way up to, well, day 12 most likely right about now. And in order to actually just try to complete the whole entire journey, is the fact that he needs able to come across into, let's just say, 15 days total. So even then, though, spoiler warning for those who have not even played the actual game yet. Now, I'm sure most people already know about this, ever since back in the day that was. So, but even then, I'm not going to mention more details about this, so... And as far as you already know, is the fact that this particular uploading schedule is actually likely to be that, as you can tell, that the actual video itself like this is actually slightly shorter than the forms of how it does it on one of those parts of our Let's Play of this game. Probably because of how the fact that, well, unfortunately for the sake of time, as I said before, that there's not much else I can speak of, apart from the fact that, well, there's also another thing I'd like to discuss, and that was the fact that recently, that we actually just managed to able to remove all of our videos of our old Let's Play of Mario Party 5, which, for I've double-checked on the actual quality and everything, and for I've seen the results of it though, yeah, it's pretty bad with the actual video quality and everything like that. And as a result, we feel like trying to do the actual redo Let's Play of Mario Party 5 at some point in the future though. But for now, I think we've only got about 3 more old Mario Party Let's Plays to be deleted before we're able to redo them. And then as a result, those are 6, 7, and 8. So even then though, once we double check on the forms of the actual previous Let's Plays of these games, enjoying them on my own time, then I really don't know if I can able to delete them right now. I will delete some in the future time, specifically after take care of the forms of the previous Mario Party redo Let's Play, specifically Mario Parties 1 through 5 for the Hudson South Department, and eventually Mario Party 10, and I think that's pretty much it basically, when it comes to likely focusing on other Mario Party Let's Plays in the future, so... Anyways, before you're able to leave this world completely, there's actually those costumes, as you can see, that I've managed to able to recently unlocked. And thankfully, we did manage to get all 10 of them so far. So even then, no, that pretty much wraps it up with Pastial Pathway. And this will actually leads us to Cardstock Carnival. But I'm probably not going to do that world just yet though, because instead, we need to go back all the way from here and try to access this next new world. And this requires 10 Smiley Flowers, which is not that many to able to actually just try to fill this up. And then when you do manage to fill it up already, then we can able to move on to the next world. So even then, no, let's just let this guy to able to open up the entire world like this. It appears to be some sort of like a weird combination between some sky levels as well as a volcano level. So even then, no. And welcome to the forms of the next new world, which is High Sky Heights. And the first level, as you can see, is actually another special level, which appears to be Altitude Adjustment. So even then, this might be new to me though. So even then, no, it might take a while to able to get used to with this. So... okay, if you can tell already, this is my third attempt for doing this level, because as you can clearly imagine, that this might take a while to able to do this for the first time, for the first attempt, so... because basically in this entire level, that, well, as you can see, that's how we actually ended up riding on the plane. And as you can see on these little red and blue panels, as you can see, these are the adjustable buttons or the adjustable panels that you can able to step onto, depending on how the fact that if the actual plane might actually go up and down a notch. And the ultimate goal in this particular, this stage in particular is that, as you can see, we need to pop the certain amount of balloons, and then the more you pop them, specifically the highest amount you can reach up for is, of course, 40 balloons. So that way you can able to actually guarantee to get yourselves, not only for the sake of the forms of, well, you will find some of these. Oh no! Ah, I missed it. Oh, that's a bit of a nuisance. So unfortunately, I'm also able to revisit this level again, so that I need to get some of these collectibles or what have you. So then again though, some special levels like these can take a while to get used to, because sometimes I keep on used to it with the actual main platforming levels as far as you most likely dealt it for. But at least the level layout does look pretty nice though, even though it almost kind of reminds me like a some sort of like a city vibe or something like that, with all these buildings and everything. But the biggest difference is the fact that, well, it's all made out of crafted stuff, so... and sometimes though, you can have to do a lot of shooting egg range, as you can see right there, when it comes to likely just to pop some more balloons from time to time to able to rank up some more points. But if you do manage to reach for about 40 balloons, then basically it will give you about 3 of those smiley flowers basically. So even then, that's how it goes basically with this simple objective right there. So there's not much else I can really say about this honestly. So even then, let's just go ahead and trying to eat up this enemy right here, and son of a biscuit. I think the hardest part about this is sometimes, and sadly I've lost 1 red coin right for that specific segment right here. Oh, can I even? Oh, phew, that was really close. I almost gonna bypass that completely though, but either way though, oh Jesus Louise. Again, this is all new to me though, so forgive me if my skills wasn't exactly peculiarly accurate, and unfortunately I missed another 3 red coins, so unfortunately we have to revisit this level again for able to actually grab the rest of the collectibles, so... But it doesn't bother me at all though, because much like the forms of the previous levels, is that, or the previous special levels as far as I'm most likely concerned, this level can be pretty short if depending if you'll be skillful enough when it comes to this level's gimmick, so... And it's always at the end, where basically we need to destroyed that particular shy guy, that it just usually drives around the actual ship. Then when you've done so already, then obviously the end of the level is just right onto the left. It's kind of weird actually. I think this might actually be the only level that it does occur to you that the end of the level was actually on the left instead of right. So, seems interesting enough, but either way though, we got 44 balloons to pop through, so even though at least we got those at least. But unfortunately though, we're missing on one normal smiley flower and two of those smiley flowers, which there are of course the health challenge and also the 4 red coins I simply missed. So, and yeah, we now actually access this next level, but we'll save that until the next video, because I'll meet you guys back with the proper attempt on this level. So I'll meet you guys there, so yeah. Alright, if you couldn't tell already, this is my successful attempt on trying to grab, not only for the sake of the forms of the final 4 red coins in this level, but also trying to get ourselves the last main smiley flower on this level, because, well, it actually took me multiple tries on this level. This is probably because I feel like the actual adjustment to the actual plane was actually kind of difficult to pull off, in my opinion. Probably because I'm still keep on getting used to with the actual. It kind of reminds me of those Switch platform, or the actual you know, it's one of those little switched up platform from Super Mario 3D Land / Super Mario 3D World that basically that you would able to actually come across into yourselves the actual different arrows that you can able to press through so that you can able to get some progressioning with that little moving platform and stuff. So, but even then, it's entirely different story when it comes to this particular level gimmick, as you can see right there, but I digress. Okay, something's worth mentioning, if you can clearly tell from ever since the previous attempt on this level, is the fact that every time when the plane hits the bomb, basically what happens is the fact that if you somehow get hit by the bomb, well, it doesn't matter if it's either you or the plane. If you somehow let the plane manage to hit the actual bombs, then basically it will start to go down. So even then, know that I feel like the ultimate challenge of this particular level is, of course, do not get hit at all times, or too many times I should say, especially with the well, if you really want to go after that smiley flower of yours, well, to be more specifically, the 20 units of health, then you have to go for that specific ultimate challenge, because just like, well, Monty Mole Be Gone kind of level that we have to deal with, like, no damage on there, but luckily in Go-Go Yoshi level, that the one level that we've already done since the very beginning, that at least it doesn't take us too much attempts, because not only because it's a very simple, easy level to able to actually just notice from that, but it's also the fact that every time you run into an enemy, basically what happens is the fact that you don't get hit by certain enemies. So even then, something's worth mentioning for this point, but usually if you manage to get onto this lower part right there, if you manage to come across into those spike bombs and stuff, I highly recommend you duck, because that way if you do duck, that means you'll be perfectly safe, at least for some instances like so. So even then, we're actually getting pretty close to this level, as you can see. So even then, we're expecting to be able to be completely done with this level, at least for certain instances on that. So even then, we're able to actually grab the spare already collected smiley flower and aim on Shy Guy that has been piloted the actual plane. And, well, we'll just simply keep on moving forward, or keep on moving to the left, and then we'll end off the level just like so for that specific spot. And there we go, folks. That it concludes the altitude adjustment level. So even then, even though we're not exactly 100% this level just yet, because otherwise we are still mainly focusing on something else, specifically the souvenir huntings in the future, and also same applies to the flip side, so that we can able to find the rest of the Poochie Pups, basically. So. And with that being said, I think we should probably end things off at this point right there. So join me next time on Let's Play Yoshi's Crafted World. Is the fact that we are continuing things on Sky High Heights in Poochie's Magma Run. So see you guys on Thursday. Later, fellas.